live in a world obsessed with adding. Add another habit to your morning routine. Add another task to your to-do list. Add another goal to your life plan. Every motivational quote tells you that happiness hides just behind the next achievement, the next milestone, the next more. But what if that's the very reason so many people feel exhausted, anxious, and lost? What if true peace doesn't come from adding, but from removing? The Stoics believed that life, like a sculpture, reveals its beauty not by accumulation, but by subtraction. Nassim Nicholas Taleb, a modern interpreter of ancient wisdom, calls this principle the via negativa. According to Taleb, in many areas of life, the path to improvement is not through addition, but through removal. We know what's wrong far better than what's right. The Stoics practiced this art long before it had a name. They didn't chase more, they sought less. Less noise, less vanity, less emotional clutter. Zeno, the founder of Stoicism, lost everything in a shipwreck and said it was the best fortune he ever had because it stripped away everything unnecessary and left him with truth. Imagine your life as a garden. You can plant new flowers all you want, but if you never pull the weeds, nothing will truly bloom. Those weeds are habits of mind, complaining, blaming, fearing the future, chasing pleasure, needing approval. They strangle your inner peace silently until one day you wake up and realize your soul is tired. The Stoic path is not about doing more. It's about removing what poisons your calm. Welcome to the Stoic Lighthouse. Let the Stoic Lighthouse guide you toward peace and wisdom. If this journey toward clarity and freedom speaks to you, hit the like button and subscribe. Because today we'll explore 8 toxic behaviors a true Stoic never allows to take root, and how removing them reveals the strength and serenity already hidden inside you. Are we ready to begin? Number 1. A Stoic never complains. Everywhere you go, people are complaining about the traffic, the weather, their boss, the price of gas, politics, the news. Complaining has become the background noise of modern life, a way to connect through shared negativity. But for the Stoic mind, complaining is not just a bad habit. It's a form of self-poisoning. It's the language of someone who has forgotten one of the most powerful truths ever discovered. You don't control what happens, only how you respond to it. Epictetus, who was once a slave and knew real suffering, built his entire philosophy around this single principle. Epictetus taught, it's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters. When we complain, we are essentially fighting reality. We pour energy into what we cannot control. The weather, other people, the system, the past. It's like shouting at the rain to stop falling. It might make noise, but it doesn't change the weather. The Stoic knows this. Every second spent complaining is a second stolen from peace. Marcus Aurelius, the emperor who ruled during war, plague, and betrayal, never wasted time cursing his circumstances. Instead, he trained his mind through daily writing, turning frustration into fuel for discipline. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "If you are distressed by anything external, the pain is not due to the thing itself, but to your estimate of it. And this you have the power to revoke at any moment." That's the difference between ordinary people and Stoics. Ordinary people see obstacles and react emotionally. Stoics see obstacles and ask, what's within my control right now? The modern author Stephen Covey described this perfectly when he spoke of the circle of influence. Stephen Covey explained, reactive people focus on things they can't control. Proactive people focus on things they can. The Stoic lives entirely inside that circle of influence. Instead of complaining about traffic, he uses that time to listen to an audiobook, reflect, or breathe. Instead of complaining about a difficult boss, he focuses on his effort, his standards, his integrity, or starts planning a new path. Complaining doesn't change your reality. It only changes your identity, turning you from the author of your story into its victim. The moment you stop complaining, you begin reclaiming your power. You stop saying, why me, and start saying, what now? That's the first act of Stoic rebellion. Silence the complaint, and the world begins to obey the calm of your mind. Number 2, a Stoic never blames others. If complaining is the symptom, blaming is the full disease. It's the belief that our unhappiness is someone else's fault, the government, our parents, our boss, our partner, fate itself. It's the story we tell ourselves to avoid responsibility. But for the Stoic, this story is the most dangerous illusion of all, because the moment you blame, you hand your freedom to someone else. Epictetus was ruthless in his clarity about this. Epictetus said, "The ignorant man blames others for his misfortunes. The beginner blames himself. The wise man blames no one." Why? Because blame is a refusal to see reality. When you blame others, you build a cage with invisible bars. You convince yourself that you can only be happy when the world changes, when others behave, when circumstances improve. The Stoic sees through this illusion. He knows that his freedom begins the moment he takes full responsibility for his own mind. Zeno, the founder of Stoicism, learned this truth through disaster. After losing everything in a shipwreck, he could have cursed the sea, fate, or the gods. Instead, he turned his loss into the beginning of wisdom. It was in that moment that he said, "I made a prosperous voyage when I suffered shipwreck." The Stoic never blames the storm, he learns to sail better. This same principle echoes in modern leadership. Former Navy SEAL Jocko Willink calls it extreme ownership. Jocko Willink writes, "There is no one else to blame. The leader must own everything in his world. There is no one else." The Stoic is the leader of his own life. He doesn't blame others for how he feels. He doesn't blame fate for what it brings. He doesn't even blame himself for past mistakes. He learns. Blame is emotional paralysis. Responsibility is movement. William B Irvine, a modern Stoic philosopher, reframes this ancient lesson for our time. William B Irvine explains, "Blaming others is an attempt to control what we can't control. The moment we stop, we rediscover the one power we truly have, the power to shape our own reactions." To live as a Stoic is to stop waiting for someone to rescue you. No one is coming. You are the captain, the commander, the philosopher of your own fate. The storms will always come, but your response, that is yours alone. The day you stop blaming is the day you take the wheel back into your own hands. That is the beginning of true freedom. Number 3, a Stoic never suffers for the future or the past. The human mind is a time machine, powerful but dangerous. In a single thought, we can travel years into the past, replaying regrets and humiliations, or leap decades into the future, imagining disasters that haven't yet happened. We spend our lives as ghosts, wandering through time, rarely present in the only moment that truly exists, now. For the Stoic, this obsession with the past and the future is not just irrational, it's a form of madness. Because both are illusions. The past no longer exists, and the future is only a projection of the mind. Suffering for either is like trying to live in a dream. Seneca, the great Roman Stoic, saw this trap clearly. He lived surrounded by wealth, politics, and chaos, yet he warned that our greatest loss comes not from others, but from ourselves, from how we waste the present moment. According to Seneca, the greatest obstacle to living is expectancy, which hangs upon tomorrow and loses today. Oh, anxiety, that modern plague, is just this ancient sickness reborn, the mind torturing itself with imagined futures. And depression often comes from being chained to the ghosts of what's already gone. The Stoic cure is radical presence, not denial, but mastery of attention. Marcus Aurelius trained himself in this discipline daily, writing in his journal as both emperor and student of the soul. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself, "Confine yourself to the present." He faced war, disease, and betrayal, yet his calm came from focusing on the only space of freedom available, this moment, right now. Modern thinkers echo this wisdom. Eckhart Tolle, though not a Stoic, expressed the same insight in his own way. Eckhart Tolle said, "Realize deeply that the present moment is all you ever have. Make the now the primary focus of your life." And William B. Irvine bridges both worlds by showing that Stoic mindfulness is not passivity, but strategy. He explains that by training ourselves to stay in the present, we rob fear and regret of their oxygen. William B. Irvine explains, "We suffer more in imagination than in reality. By focusing on the present, we reclaim our power." The Stoic doesn't run from the past or the future. He just refuses to live there. He plans for the future with reason, not fear. He learns from the past with wisdom, not guilt. And then he returns to the only real battlefield, the now. To live in the present is not to escape time. It's to become its master. Because peace is not somewhere in your memories or your hopes. Peace only lives where you do. Right here, right now. Number 4. A Stoic is never a slave to public opinion. We live in an age of constant judgment. Every photo, every post, every word you say can be praised or destroyed in seconds. The crowd is always watching, and most people, whether they admit it or not, are living for the applause. They shape their lives not by reason, but by reaction, chasing validation like a drug. But the Stoic stands free. Marcus Aurelius, who ruled the mightiest empire on earth and was loved by millions, saw the absurdity of caring too much about public approval. Marcus Aurelius reflected, "We all love ourselves more than other people, but care more about their opinion than our own." He saw how foolish it is to let strangers decide your worth. The crowd's opinion is unstable, driven by ignorance, fear, and envy. To base your peace on it is like trying to anchor a ship in the middle of a storm. Epictetus, who had once been mocked as a slave, taught that true freedom begins the moment you stop trying to please everyone. Epictetus taught, "If you want to improve, be content to be thought foolish and stupid." To the Stoic, reputation is not reality, it's just noise. What matters is your virtue, courage, justice, self-control, and wisdom. These are not voted on by others. They're chosen by you, moment after moment. Ryan Holiday, one of the modern voices of Stoicism, translates this ancient strength into today's world. Ryan Holiday reminds us, freedom is the ability to not care what others think, not because you're arrogant, but because your standards are higher. In a culture where opinions are currency, the Stoic lives rich by refusing to spend. He doesn't perform for likes. He doesn't panic when criticized. He knows that living by principle will sometimes make you unpopular, but it will always make you free. Chrysippus, the great systematizer of Stoicism, believed that reason, not popularity, was the highest authority of human life. He built his philosophy on logic because truth must never bow to noise. And in our time, when social media turns every opinion into a storm, Stoicism becomes rebellion. The Stoic chooses silence over shouting, substance over performance. He doesn't need approval because he already knows who he is. His audience is his conscience, his applause, the calm that follows a day lived with integrity. To live by your own reason in a world addicted to validation is not easy, but it's the only path to true freedom. The crowd will always shift. The Stoic stands still. Number 5. A Stoic never chases pleasure as the final goal. Modern culture worships pleasure. We chase the next dopamine hit, the next scroll, the next purchase, the next thrill. From our screens to our diets, everything is designed to make us feel good now, no matter the cost later. We've been taught that happiness is the sum of pleasures, but for the Stoic, that equation is completely backward. Pleasure isn't the goal of life, it's the byproduct of living it well. Seneca, surrounded by Rome's luxury and corruption, saw what happens when pleasure becomes your master. Seneca warned, "Pleasure, when it becomes our master, commands us to do many things in defiance of our freedom." To the Stoic, pleasure isn't evil, it's indifferent. Good if it aligns with virtue, destructive if it controls you. The true danger lies not in pleasure itself, but in dependency. Because the moment your happiness depends on something outside your control, food, wealth, status, attention, you've already surrendered your peace. Musonius Rufus, often called the Roman Socrates, believed that strength and character come from the discipline to resist pleasure, not from indulging it. Musonius Rufus taught, "The man enslaved to pleasure cannot endure hardship, nor be just, nor be a good friend or citizen." In our age, this means choosing discipline over distraction. It means saying no to comfort when it weakens your spirit. Because pleasure makes promises it never keeps. It soothes you for a moment, then leaves you emptier than before. William B. Irvine helps us understand this tension in modern terms. William B. Irvine explains, "Those who make pleasure their goal rarely find it. But those who pursue purpose often find both purpose and pleasure along the way." The Stoic doesn't reject joy, he just refuses to depend on it. He enjoys good food, but isn't broken by hunger. He loves deeply, but doesn't cling with desperation. He enjoys comfort, but trains in discomfort. His peace is portable. Marcus Aurelius, who had access to every indulgence imaginable, still chose simplicity. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself, "Do not act as if you had 10,000 years to live. While you live, while it is in your power, be good." To the Stoic, goodness, not pleasure, is the path to peace. Happiness is not something you hunt. It's something that follows you when you walk with virtue. The modern world screams, "Do what feels good." The Stoic whispers, "Do what's right." And that's why his joy lasts. Number 6, a Stoic never holds grudges. Everyone gets hurt. People lie, betray, disappoint, and offend. Sometimes the wound is deep, a friend's betrayal, a family member's cruelty, a stranger's injustice. The instinct to hold on to anger feels righteous, almost protective. But to the Stoic, resentment is not protection, it's poison. Every grudge is a chain you choose to wear. Marcus Aurelius, who faced endless betrayal in the chaos of imperial politics, began each morning reminding himself of this reality. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "When you wake up, tell yourself, today I will meet the meddling, the ungrateful, the arrogant, the deceitful. But they are like this because they do not know good from evil." He didn't excuse wrongs. He simply refused to let them live rent-free in his mind. For the Stoic, forgiveness is not about weakness or naivety. It's about logic. To stay angry at what's already happened is to suffer twice. Once from the event, and again from your refusal to let it go. Seneca, who witnessed revenge and hatred destroy countless men in Rome, saw clearly how destructive resentment could be. Seneca advised, "The best revenge is to be unlike your enemy." That is Stoic justice, to rise above, to remain calm where others lose control, to answer cruelty with composure. The Stoic understands that anger punishes the one who feels it far more than the one who caused it. In modern times, Nelson Mandela embodied this truth. After 27 years in prison, he emerged without hatred because he understood a deep Stoic principle. Resentment is self-inflicted suffering. Mandela said, "Resentment is like drinking poison and then hoping it will kill your enemies." The Stoic refuses to drink that poison. He knows that forgiveness is not a gift to the offender, but a liberation for the self. To forgive is not to erase the past. It's to reclaim the present. Epictetus reminded his students that no one can truly harm you unless you give them permission to. Epictetus taught, "No man is free who is not master of himself." When you cling to anger, you hand your emotions to the very person who hurt you. When you let go, you take them back. Forgiveness then is not forgetting, it's freedom. The Stoic practices magnanimity, greatness of soul. He understands others act from ignorance, not evil. He knows that every act of cruelty comes from confusion, and every insult reflects weakness. The wise do not rage at the blind for stumbling. To let go of anger is not to surrender, it's to transcend. You don't need revenge when you've already won the only battle that matters, the battle over yourself. Number 7. A Stoic never runs from discomfort. Comfort is the silent killer of strength. Our modern world is built to protect us from every form of discomfort. Air conditioning for the heat, entertainment for boredom, delivery for hunger, and endless distraction for pain. We have created a world where struggle is optional. But in doing so, we have weakened the very muscle that makes life meaningful, resilience. The Stoics knew what modern science is only rediscovering. Avoiding discomfort doesn't bring peace, it breeds fragility. Seneca, one of the wealthiest men in Rome, trained himself through voluntary hardship. Seneca advised, "Set aside a certain number of days, during which you shall be content with the scantiest and cheapest fare, with coarse and rough dress, saying to yourself, 'Is this what I feared?'" By choosing discomfort before life forced it upon him, he built immunity to fear. That's the Stoic way, to use discomfort as training, not torture, because what we fear most often loses its power once faced. Musonius Rufus, the teacher of Epictetus, taught that discipline and endurance are the cornerstones of virtue. Musonius Rufus taught, "He who trains himself to bear cold, heat, hunger, and thirst becomes more courageous and more self-controlled." The Stoic sees every hardship as a form of resistance training for the soul. Adversity is not an enemy, it's a gym. Each difficulty lifts your capacity to endure. In our time, few people embody this more vividly than David Goggins, a modern warrior forged by pain. His philosophy of mental toughness echoes the Stoic spirit perfectly. David Goggins reminds us, "When your mind tells you you're done, you're only at 40% of your capability. You have to get comfortable being uncomfortable." That's not just motivation, it's philosophy in motion. The Stoic seeks discomfort not out of masochism, but to prepare for life's storms. He takes cold showers, fasts occasionally, embraces silence, or faces challenges he'd rather avoid. Not because he enjoys them, but because he knows the cost of always choosing comfort is weakness. William B Irvine calls this practice voluntary discomfort, a conscious way to toughen the mind and expand gratitude. William B Irvine explains, "When we occasionally deprive ourselves, we rediscover how little we truly need to be content." The Stoic doesn't wait for comfort to collapse. He breaks it himself, again and again, until nothing external can break him. He doesn't run from discomfort, he runs toward growth, because when comfort becomes your god, weakness becomes your fate. But when discomfort becomes your teacher, strength becomes your nature. Number 8. A Stoic never lives without self-examination. Most people drift through life on autopilot. They react, repeat, and regret, but rarely reflect. They wake up, rush, work, scroll, sleep, and start again without ever asking, "Am I becoming the person I want to be?" The Stoics saw this as the greatest tragedy of all, to live without examining oneself. Because philosophy to them wasn't a theory, it was a mirror. Marcus Aurelius treated his journal not as a diary, but as a training ground for the soul. Every night, he dissected his thoughts, corrected his errors, and reminded himself of the kind of man he wanted to be. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "These are the principles I examine. What am I doing with my soul right now? Am I acting like a child, a tyrant, or a rational being?" This was his secret weapon, radical self-awareness. He ruled an empire, yet took time each day to rule himself first. Because without self-examination, power becomes arrogance, success becomes corruption, and routine becomes decay. Seneca practiced this same ritual in private, calling it a nightly self-audit. Seneca explained, "When the light has been removed and my wife has fallen silent, I examine my entire day, reviewing my words and deeds. I hide nothing from myself." To the Stoic, this practice isn't guilt, it's growth. It's the art of turning experience into wisdom. You don't need a crown or a philosopher's robe to do it. You just need honesty and a few quiet minutes. Even centuries before the Stoics, Pythagoras had given his students a similar rule. Never go to sleep without reviewing your day. Pythagoras taught, "Never let sleep close your tired eyes until you have examined every act of the day." In our time, this ancient practice has re-emerged through modern thinkers like Tim Ferriss, who calls it the 5-minute journal. Tim Ferriss explains, writing what you're grateful for and what you learned each day is a simple but powerful way to focus on progress instead of perfection. Whether you write in a leather notebook like Marcus Aurelius or in a simple app before bed, the message is the same. Awareness transforms life. The Stoic doesn't assume he's on the right path. He checks the map every day. Because the unexamined life isn't just wasted, it's aimless. And no ship ever reached its harbor without a captain checking his compass. Self-examination is how the Stoic stays the course. It's not about perfection, but direction. Every night, he looks in the mirror of his own mind and asks the only question that matters. Did I live with virtue today? And if the answer is no, he smiles, because tomorrow he gets another chance to try again. So far, we've explored not what to add, but what to remove: complaining, blaming, anxiety about time, the need for approval, the chase for pleasure, the poison of resentment, the fear of discomfort, the blindness of living without reflection. These are the 8 heavy anchors that drag the human soul into the depths of misery. And the Stoic path, the art of subtraction, is how we cut the ropes. When you stop adding what weighs you down, you begin to rise. Life becomes lighter, clearer. You see that strength isn't about control, but acceptance. Peace isn't the absence of problems, but the mastery of perspective. The Stoic doesn't seek to change the world before changing himself. He begins by removing one false belief, one unhealthy attachment, one destructive habit at a time. This is what makes Stoicism timeless. It isn't a call to become someone else, but to reveal who you've always been beneath the noise. The sculptor doesn't create beauty by adding marble, but by removing what doesn't belong. The same is true for your soul. According to Chrysippus, virtue is a harmony of the soul achieved through reason, and harmony can only be heard when you silence the chaos. So let's turn this philosophy into practice. Which of these 8 habits will you start subtracting from your life today? Let me know in the comments. Your reflection might inspire someone else to begin. If this video brought you clarity and strength, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to the Stoic Lighthouse. It helps the light of Stoic wisdom reach more people seeking peace in a noisy world. And stay tuned. In our next video, we'll dive into a man who lived between self-control and self-destruction. A leader forged by pain, power, and purpose. We'll ask the question, was he truly in command of himself or a prisoner of his own darkness? Let the Stoic Lighthouse guide you toward peace and wisdom. Epictetus left us with a truth that defines the Stoic path. No great thing is created suddenly. There must be time, there must be growth. See you in the next video.